Hey, this is Epic M Studios. Today we're going to be making a tank muzzle flare. Alright, you can see it if I load up this video here. This is in half frame rate. You can kind of see where the flare just comes out of there. Boom. Just like that. It looks pretty realistic if you add some camera shake and stuff. I didn't add any camera shake here just so you could see it. But yeah, it just looks awesome. If we go back to the beginning there, that'll look really realistic. You can do some extra compositing on it, stuff like that, but it looks pretty great. So yeah, to start out, I have this model here of a tank. Actually, let me create a new scene with the tank in it. It's just easier that way. So let's append, and that will be in the special effects. Special effects, tank1.blend, and I made a group. No, not it. Yeah, a group for the tank. Has all the parts and everything, and it has that animation. So what I did here for the turret, because tanks are designed so that the turret can go back, so there's not as much recoil on the tank, so the tank doesn't get knocked back as much. So basically what I have, if we look at our animation, is one frame is it's kind of at its normal state. Next frame it comes back, so that's really fast. Then it goes back to its original state in 51 to 50, so in 5 frames. So yeah, it goes back, and 5 frames later, yeah. And same over here. It takes aim, and then just boom. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a muzzle flare to that. Muzzle flare, muzzle flash, whatever you want to call it, to make this just look awesome. That's all I can say. So what you're gonna want, so let's add a, well, first I'm gonna bring this down. This is more of a modeling thing. And actually I'm gonna move the camera over here so you can just see that in rendered mode. And also add a sun lamp. That would be useful, just to get this scene good. Yeah, and also to make it so we can see stuff, ambient occlusion, environment lighting. Alright, there we go. We've got our tank. It's a bit bright, whatever. Nobody cares. And so now, what we're going to want to do, see, we want it so that wherever the tank, wherever it fires, the muzzle flare will be in line with this. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set it up for the position it's in right now, and we can parent it to that, to the barrel, so that whenever it fires, it will be in the correct place. So basically, the two components of the muzzle flare are, first I'm gonna move this tank. Yeah, I'm gonna move it to 0. I'm gonna center it, and also the camera, just to make it easier for everything. Okay, never mind. It's keyframes. Keyframed from the other project. Well, we can live with that. Okay, so we're gonna add a cone, or actually, to make it better, we're gonna add a cylinder. And what we're going to do with this cylinder, we're going to delete one of the end caps, delete the face of that, and then we're going to select all the vertices here and scale them up, and also scale the bottom down. That way we have that nice cone effect where the tank is firing, where all the gas expands, and you can see the fire coming out of that. And you can choose what radius you want for this, how far away you want it to be. I think this looks about good. That's a little bit much. Just like that. and we can scale it accordingly. And then make sure to Control A with the scale, so that just sets it so that instead of it being like 0.795 for the scale, it'll just set it back to 1, but it'll look the same. And we're gonna rotate it -90 on the x-axis. And first of all, yeah, we're gonna add a another cylinder. Hit S, then Shift Z, so it will only scale on the X and Y axis, and then SZ, so we can, yeah, and then rotate it on the X axis by -90 or 90, whichever works, just like that. And we're gonna kind of have this coming out of there like that. Alright, and let's also S Shift Y now, because it's aligned with the Y axis, so we're gonna S Shift Y and just make it thinner there, thinner on the ends, and maybe actually thinner here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now we're gonna have to make loop cuts, hitting Control R. Alright, and so how many do we want? Let's make it 23, 24. Let's make it 25. And then hit 0 so it won't move, it'll just be centered. Now what we can do, we can go into Vertex Select, hit B, select all of those, and then we're going to go into Proportional Editing. Now we're going to scale this, but first let me zoom out so we can get the whole picture. Scale it, and also with my mouse wheel, I'm going to change the size of this circle here, so that basically controls how far the proportional editing actually reaches. Let's actually hit S Shift Y, so nothing will kind of go forwards, nothing will go in this direction, and you can't see it because it's all the way over here. Alright, now we're gonna let's parent this to the cone. Or no, we'll parent the cone to this. That way it's kinda easier to align it. So we're gonna hit right click on the cone, shift right click on the flare thing, and then we're gonna hit Control P, set parent to object. So now you can move the cone wherever you want relative to this. Let's actually move it back. But when you move this, the cone moves with it. And that's kind of the same thing we're going to do with this and the tank turret. Just so everything moves together. Now we're just going to... Also I'm going to Control A, rotation, Control A, scale. Also just Control A, rotation, and scale. Yeah. Whoops. We're going to want to move it from there. This just helps if you want to do some things with the displacement modifier. And let's just line that up right there. And this tank turret actually isn't straight, so we'll need to rotate this a little bit. How much is this rotated actually? Okay, so this is rotated 0.3965 degrees on the x-axis, or no, 3.965 degrees. So we're going to rotate this 3.965 degrees. And if we view it in orthographic view, we can see if the barrel is actually aligned with that. And no, it isn't. So maybe the tank, when it was made, the barrel wasn't really aligned before I rotated it. So we're going to rotate it on the x-axis. I'll also provide a link to the model in the description because I did not make this model. Yeah, and all of that. If you don't see a link, just tell me, because that means I forgot. Okay. We can hit G and then Y twice. So that makes it so it's not the global Y, which goes across this way where my mouse is, but it makes it so it's the local Y, so it will just extend out this way with the rotation. And let's put this, let's hit GYY again, so GYY again, just there. And yeah, that looks okay. One thing I actually do want to do, I want to scale the cone up, and maybe let's move it so that the center of the cone, the object center, also hitting GYY, is there at the sort of base, so that then we can easily, yeah, just put the source of it, and also to scale it so it won't scale from the center, so this doesn't go back as far, this back part doesn't go back as far. So let's just scale it up a little bit, and GYY. So that seems like an okay shape for the flare. I'm actually going to make this a bit bigger, and then yeah, GYY, and then scale this down. That way we get a nice shape for where the flare is going to be. That looks pretty nice. Alright, so now what we need to do, because when this tank moves, this is not going to move with it. Alright, so what we're going to want to do is right click on this, right click on the flare part, and shift right click, and then control P again to set the parent to the object. So now when this rotates, this moves with it. So that's really, really useful actually. It's probably one of the most useful things about this. Alright, and don't worry about it going backwards, because this isn't going to be visible before the tank turret actually recoils. We're going to make it not visible there, so yeah. Alright, so now that we've got that, we can start to play with the materials. What we're going to want to do, we're going to add a new material, we're going to make it a volume. And that's because we can control the density and everything of it. We want to make it kind of more see-through and stuff like that. And we can actually control the emission, so set the emission to, emission 5. We can make it emit also. So that's really, really useful. And if we make this a yellow color, that looks pretty good. Let's also make this, we can set it to this current material, although we might need to alter it. Yeah, I think we're going to need to alter this current material when we do this part. So yeah, let's alter it. Let's bring the density up helps, but I think we're gonna have to go to 25 for the emission just to get it looking brighter. Yeah, that looks brighter. And when we do stuff to this, it'll look good. And also with the cone, you'll notice it has a really sharp edge right there and everything. And we need to kind of blur that. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna add a texture, and we're gonna set it to blend. Now that way we can control the alpha value of this. Alright, now I forget how I mapped it. I didn't use a UV map, I'm pretty sure. We can use a UV map actually. So what we're going to go into UV editing, hit tab and U and unwrap. So right now you can see that cone has been unwrapped onto this shape right here. Alright, so that part right there corresponds to this, and then it kind of goes outward. So that's actually a pretty good unwrap for this. Now what we're going to want to do, set this to generated. Alright, and because we've unwrapped it so that the center is kind of in the center of the image, then it branches out from there. Not branches, it kind of goes out from there. We want this to be spherical. So you can see the main alpha will be in the center, and then as it goes out it will be less visible. Now we can control this with the color ramp here, and we're going to set this, instead of emission color, we'll set it to density. And one thing I forgot to do, set the density to 0, so that now we can kind of control the density of everything. So if we want that to branch out more, we can make it look really customized to what we want. And yeah, you can do a lot with this. You can also set the mapping if you want it to be, no, quadratic wouldn't do anything. If you want it to be, it's radial, that wouldn't look good at all, but yeah, you know. We can go into rendered mode. If this doesn't crash, please don't crash. Yeah. I don't know if rendered mode works with that, but yeah. Spherical. And just so I don't get lag on the with the sound. Hopefully that didn't lag out my sound, because with the recording with lossless video capture, yeah. Okay. So we got the radial. We can control it. Yeah, that looks really good. Looks pretty good. So now that we have that, we can make it different some other time and stuff. You can also make this a solid, so you can control more of it, but just for the sake of the video, make it easier, I'm just gonna do this. And why don't we actually make that bigger so we get more control over it? Just scale that. Yeah, there. Now we get more control over the size of it. That looks pretty good. Also, something else I might want to do, I might want to actually, yeah, and then scale the shape, make it not like a cone, make it more like that, and then we're going to need to unwrap this. So we re-unwrapped it. Let's see if UV editing, it looks good there. Yes, it looks good there. So then if we hit 12, yeah, we should be able to see that shape a little better. And also something else I want to do, so we hit B, select all of this, and we can set it to random fall off for the UV, and G, Y, Y. Whoops, we don't want to select all of it. We're just gonna select some random points here, and that way we hit G, Y, Y. We can make it look more random than it is. And let's actually select some right there, and there, and there. Right, so that looks okay. And I'm actually going to select all these and then scale. And maybe scale this a bit too. There, that looks pretty good. That looks okay. We should be good with that. And I'm actually gonna set it to there. So yeah. And for the density, we'll make it 0.3 of that value, so it'll be less dense. If we set it to 0, it'll be, yeah, less dense. And so we'll give it that density, and maybe we could scale it up. Yeah, looks good. And now for this material, we're gonna have to set actually the density there is set to a pretty nice place. Let's change the color, make it a lot more yellow. Okay, actually a lot less yellow than that. Just so we still have that white, but it's kind of yellowish. And another thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add the ground. Scale it up, and it appears that the tank is below that, so I have to put the tank on ground level. This is just for the render to make it look nice. And another thing we can do is we can actually parent a light to that to make it look good. Just hit view front, grab it on the Z-axis. So yeah, right there we have that. And where's our camera at? Our camera is right there, so we'll just put this here. We'll just scale this up a lot. And then for the camera, we'll give it we'll give it more than 100. Like 500 there. And also for the plane, we don't want it to be white, we want it to be like let's just make it a brown color. So you can see those artifacts, those will be fixed when we use the node. Also another thing, we don't want this to have a shadow. Since it's emitting light, it shouldn't have a shadow, should it? So we're going to go to options and set that, make it so it's not traceable. Same with this, turn off traceable. And you can see it won't have a shadow, only the tank will have a shadow. Now about adding a light to this, I'm going to do that. And also let's add some sky and atmosphere to the sun. So you get a nice atmosphere there. And also we're going to add a let's make it a misty color. Make it mist. And the we will make it start at like 130 or even further. But this will just make it give it a depth, make it so the sky doesn't blend in that very easily. So we also want to do some animation with this. Make it so that it doesn't, so that the tank will fire. So you have the recoil. This will show for a couple seconds, then nothing. Bam, and then nothing. So yeah, let's do that right now. So the density scale to 0. That won't be visible. So we can just animate the density scale, and animate it so that before the recoil it'll be 0. Insert keyframe. When it recoils it'll be 1. Insert keyframe. And let's keep it there for 2 frames, so we'll move forward 2 frames and then bring it back to 0. So here we'll have an in-between frame where it kind of it goes back to nothing. And same with this. So before tank fires it'll be 0, density scale 0. Insert keyframe. After it'll be 1. Insert keyframe. And let's just bring that back to we can move forward another keyframe, then set it to 0. Insert keyframe. So you can see here it's not visible. Then when the tank fires, it's visible. Then it's not afterwards. So that's pretty good. Now something else we might want to add is some camera shake. Alright, so to do this, we're going to go to animation and just go into our camera, view camera, and let's add some camera shake when right after it recoils. So like right here, and then the shake will start on the frame after that. So 51 is where the thing recoils. We can start the camera shake there. So what we're gonna do, okay, we have the camera selected, and we're gonna add a keyframe. Let's set it rotation. We can have this camera on a tripod. It'll kind of rotate, vibrate a little bit. So that should be pretty easy. Now we're gonna go. Let's move this. We don't need that. And we're going to add a modifier and noise. Get the noise modifier. So as you can see, the camera is just shaking violently the whole time. So we're gonna need to make it so it doesn't do that. And to do that, we can go to restrict frame range. Alright, so set the start to 51, and it won't let us do that. Yeah, end 51, and we'll make the end 55. And we also don't want it to be that violent, so we'll make the strength 0.1. So yeah. So tank fires. Boom, you have that. And actually I think we should make that no, not video editing. We should make that camera shake a little bit better, because it seems, yeah, 60. Let's make that go to 60, and yeah, it looks okay. One thing we do want to do, we want to make it violent, and then it'll stop. It'll kind of slow down. Slow down. Yeah. So it seems like it's rotating on the y-axis. No, x-axis. Okay, it's rotating on the x-axis. So what we're going to want to do is go to 51, and you can see that camera shake right there, and how it's more violent kind of towards the middle. We want it to have an in value and out value. So we're going to have it so, yeah, this can be 9. Well, this basically allows us to do influence. Yeah, what this basically allows us to do is to make it 51. Is to make it so that it kind of gets softer as it goes on. So the shaking is less violent. So you can see we have one big blast, and then the camera shake just kind of dies down. So yeah, now that we have that, I think we can go to the final compositing. Alright, so let's go to compositing, and we're going to hit use nodes, and let's actually set this to viewer. So go to render result, and we're going to add a filter, and let's add glare. Instead of streaks, let's set it to fog glow, because fog glow makes everything look awesome. Thresholds, threshold 1.1. And then mix, we can make this darker, and to make this kind of seem brighter, if we set the mix to like if we set it more to 1, you'll only get the fog glow effect. So if we set it to like 0.4, that'll kind of darken the scene for us and make this look a lot brighter. And we can actually add a second fog glow. I don't think this is the correct way to do it, but oops. we can set that to 0. So now you can see it brightens up the thing. And I think we should make this a little bit more orange. We have it kind of in the yellow range right now. Let's make it more orange. More orange for both of them. Go to compositing, and that'll give it more of a fiery color. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. You can use it for whatever you want. You can use it for any turret, like if you want to make like an AC 130 type of thing. You might want to tweak the settings a bit just to get it to look good in your scene. And I know this might not look very good in the scene. The last one I made was kind of more optimized. Kind of this thing. Boom. And I tweaked the settings to kind of, if we just pause, yeah. We go back to the 15 frames per second. See right there, you could see, you're gonna see a little thing comes out of it. So it's not exactly a just a cone. There's things coming out of here. I did that a little bit differently, tweaked the settings a bit. So if you do that, it'll look really good at the end. You can. This was kind of a quick job, but if you put some time into it, it will look awesome for you. So thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. Hopefully it helped you a little bit with whatever you're doing, with what you want to do. Like I said, tweak the settings. Don't follow this exactly. If you play around with it, you'll learn more and you'll get it perfect for your scene. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching. You can also set that to 9 for the size to make this look bigger. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.